actually start now. Okay, so this session is on Config Manager 2007 R3, an overview, and also Config Manager vNext overview. My name is Brendan Byrne. I'm a consultant for Microsoft New Zealand, based right here in Auckland. Just to let you know, there are some subliminal messages that I'm going to be putting across right through the night. I can't tell you what it is, because then it wouldn't be subliminal, but it is nothing to do with evals or anything, because my boss is sitting in the second row. So please, hopefully my messaging will get across. Now, how many were in the infrastructure foundation session just before this? So only four or five people, six. Okay, not many. So all the people that were in there saw my demo and thought, that's all I need to know, and haven't come to this one. So I forgot to announce that I do have prizes. So if you can just look at your name badges. On your name badges, you will have a number. It's a unique number. At some stage when I feel like I want to give away a prize, I've got some randomly generated numbers, and the person that's kind of closest to that number will win a prize. So let's get stuck into it. Quick agenda. We're going to do a lightning quick review of the last 12 months. Okay, and that's really just talking about Service Pack 2. From there, we're going to look what's on the immediate radar, and that's the release of R3 for Config Manager 2007, see what's coming out in that. Then we're going to spend most of our time looking at Config Manager vNext, and we'll sprinkle that with a whole lot of demos. I just have to let you know that we've been cut from an hour and a quarter down to an hour, and try to get demos and get through all the content in an hour is very difficult. So if we can refrain from asking questions during the session, I should be available after to answer any questions that you've got. So just ask that you help me in that instance. So let's look at the last 12 months quickly. Service Pack 2 was released for Config Manager. And what did that give us? That gave us the ability to deploy Windows 7 and R2 as a client. It also gave us the ability to use R2 as the server platform underneath the Config Manager server roles. Obviously, with Windows 7 coming out and branch cache, it also gave us the ability to use branch cache to distribute applications to remote sites and systems. USMT4, or User State Migration Toolkit version 4, was a significant jump from the version 3. Is everyone kind of familiar with what USMT is, or do I have to give an explanation? Stick up your hands if you know what it is. Okay, that's good. I don't have to explain. The main thing, obviously the main things in there were hard link migrations, which is could reduce the amount of time to do like a user state capture and restore. And then you've got offline copies and also VSS copies. Faster policy processing. Now, there's a few things that we've done here, and some of these things have been brought forward from vNext. And I don't know if you tried using application virtualization when it first came out integrated with Config Manager, but there was a few Config Manager legacy type policies which made things very slow to get an application to the desktop. So one was discovery, and we all know and love discovery in Config Manager. But then once you've got the polling time, say default 60 minutes. So once you actually put an object in a collection, it might have been up to 60 minutes before that machine polled and found out that the machine was actually in that collection and it had a policy to process. Then once you actually got the policy and downloaded it onto the machine, then there was a time delay between actually retrieving the policy and executing the policy. So with discovery and all these other factors, it could be anywhere from, say, 3 minutes up to 24 hours if you used all the type of default settings for an @v icon to get down to the desktop. So they did a number of things. In Service Pack 2, they got rid of that time delay. So as soon as you get a policy, it'll try to execute it straight away. Also, what they've done is they've done a user policy retrieval at logon. So instead of having to wait for that 60-minute period, you log on to your machine, it does the user policy retrieval, and then relatively instantaneously you're going to have an @v icon on your desktop. So there's a number of things that we've done there, brought forward into Service Pack 2 and R3 to kind of to increase that speed of policy processing. The Config Manager dashboard was released. So one of our Solution Accelerator teams released that. If you haven't had a look at it, I think it's quite good. So you can download that for free and set it up. Also, Microsoft Deployment Toolkit 2010 was released, and now Update 1. So MDT obviously provides a whole lot of extra features that Config Manager doesn't provide out of the box. So we always advise to integrate that with Config Manager. Update 1 goes a step further and gives you user-driven installation. So I'm not sure, in that last session, did he actually go through UDI, the guys that were in there? He did, yeah. So just giving the ability to set up a process where users can initiate a build and also have a certain amount of control over what might happen during that build. So that's all we really cover on Service Pack 2. So on the immediate radar is R3. Now, I'm not in the product team, so I can't give you a date, but what I've been told is this calendar year. And what are the goals of it? Obviously, we need to be able to provide you value between the major releases. If you had to wait between, say, 2007 and 2011 for any features, you'd probably find that in those 4 years, you know, the environments have changed quite a bit and you need new features. So these releases are really to give you value when you're deploying Config Manager. Also, like I said before, we've actually brought some things forward, things that are sitting in Config Manager vNext that were simple kind of upgrades to Config Manager to get around some of those pain points you might have with the existing product. So, power management is one of them, and it's one of those really prominent topics these days. You know, being green, being energy efficient, you know, reducing your carbon footprint, or even just reducing those operational costs. So what we're doing with Power Management R3 is really just giving you the ability to monitor your current power states and consumption. And also, once we're collecting all this data, you'll also be able to look at activity trends, see how you're trending with your power consumption. Also, the third bullet point there, we can go and do an inventory of all the settings and see what machines are actually configured for. Then we get to the next stage where administrators have the ability to create and deploy and also enforce those power settings, all using the Config Manager infrastructure. Above that, if people are going and changing their settings once they've been deployed, we've also got the ability to remediate. So you'll find right through R3 going into Config Manager vNext, there is a lot of remediation that goes on. Whereas in the past, we might have just told you about an issue or told you about a compliance issue. Now we're going to give you the ability to remediate. And in Power Management, that's one of the things we're going to be doing. Then obviously, it's really important that the business has good reports to be able to find out exactly how power management is affecting their overall power consumption. So we can look at the overall power consumption, we can look at CO2 savings and stuff like that. Does anyone know who the little green man is? This is for a prize. That man there, sorry, over the back. Gumby, okay. It's only a webcam, sorry, but if you just want to come up and get that. Delta Discovery. Now this is one of the ones that I like because how many people like how Discovery works in Config Manager now? For a prize? No. Okay, right. No one really likes Discovery because you point it at a domain or an OU, and if you're in an environment that has lots and lots of objects, you're probably not going to run it that frequently. And most people might run it nightly, or they might run it every week or something like that. So that means if you're using groups or anything in AD and you want to translate those into a collection, you've got to wait for that discovery to happen at night. And there's a big time delay between, adding it to AD and then it popping up in the collection. So what Delta Discovery does, it really complements a full discovery. So we're really discovering new or changed resources in AD rather than having to do that full discovery. So we still do the full discovery. You still require that. It might be less frequent. You might do it once a week, once every 2 weeks. But then we go in and configure a Delta Discovery, say every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever the case may be. It's not enabled by default, so once you implement R3, you'll have to go and enable that. And it's really covering those objects which are important to us. It's covering the system objects, the system objects, the security and system groups, and also the user and computer objects. So if you look at Delta Discovery with the things that were brought out in SP2, you can see we're really narrowing that gap, that amount of time between adding something to AD and getting it through into a collection in Config Manager. Another thing that's kind of related to this is fast collection evaluation. So usually there's a collection evaluation schedule. Okay, so once you've done a discovery at a certain period of time, it will do like a collection evaluation. So if you've got a query that's running to find out, what objects need to be in this collection, you've got to wait for that schedule to run. So what this does, fast collection evaluation, it means any of these new objects that are coming in will be evaluated pretty much straight away, and then that means they're going to get in the collection. Pre-stage media. Okay, so pre-stage media is just another option in the task sequence media wizard. It gives you the ability, really basically, to install the machine off itself. So rather than having to download an image across a network connection or from a remote computer, we can run this pre-stage media. It will put WinP on the box. It will put the image on the box. We might send that box out to a remote site where they can't do software or OS distribution. So then the machine boots up, talks to its management point, it says, hey, you've got this task sequence to run. It goes, has a look at the task sequence. Oh, I build off myself. So that's another function that's built into there. What I'm just trying to find out myself is, because I haven't tested it myself yet, is whether it will happen on a refresh cycle rather than a new computer type thing. So you've got a machine out there, you want to rebuild it. Can you rebuild it off itself again? So that's really everything to do with R3. I did want to bring up Forefront endpoint protection. Okay, so it's in beta at present. When it gets released, Config Manager will be